Hey there, everybody. Mark Hepp with CampgroundViews.com. As you know, we always try to bring you additional value, and today I've got a special guest with me today. Pat O'Neill from Camp Golf and Twin Lakes Camp Resort will be a featured speaker at the Glamping Show USA, which will be taking place October 13th through the 15th. So he agreed to join us here today to kind of preview what he's going to be talking about at the Glamping Show and maybe share some insight that he's learned by instituting glamping at his resort. Thank you, Pat, for joining me today.
You bet, Mark. Good to be with you.
So we're talking specifically about the Twin Lakes Camp Resort. What have you done glamping related there, and why should folks be aware of it?
Well, about 7 years ago, we took over a defunct RV park. That years ago was a fish camp, and it changed hands a few times. And one time it was going to become some condos, and somebody had built some really nice suites in there. And then it went defunct again, sold for taxes, and turned it back into an RV park. And it was pretty run down, and somebody brought it to us and asked if we were interested in the opportunity to take it over, because they had bought it in a conglomerate, and this is one that was bleeding them, and they didn't want it. So it was in my backyard and around the corner from my mom's house. So I figured, yeah, we'll take a shot at this, and we struck a deal, and we started renovating the RV sites, and we realized pretty quickly when the only income producer that we had was these 5 suites, and they're pretty rustic. They're pretty run down on the outside, but we renovated the insides, and they were the main source of our income for a few years. And we realized while we were adding campsites and redoing the utilities that what was happening was people were coming from states away to come here to stay in these suites because of the view and the connection with the outdoors. And we recognized it as glamping. We thought, this is a market. We should do some more of this. So we got about halfway through the campsites, and we're on a peninsula between a 220-acre lake and a 320-acre lake. So all the sites have a view of the water, and some have a sunrise view and some have a sunset view. But we got down to the point of the peninsula at the dam. We decided right there to put Google Glass. It was in 2016. So we had a chance to see how they would perform as we were continuing on with the campsites. And then we decided to add some more glamping tents. So we've put in 7 more glamping tents on the other side of the dam, got them separated a little bit from the campground. You have to take a wagon, you kind of go down to an unloading area, put your stuff in the wagon, walk across the dam, and you're secluded, but you can come over and join the activities of the campground. We saw that they filled up pretty quickly, and that was successful. So we put in 3 tiny homes, and then we put in 2 lake houses. So we've got 19 rental units with 60 campsites, and it was a 25% ratio, and they're full every weekend. And we see the connection with them, because there are so many families and friends who want to camp together, and the glampers are looking for the same thing the RVers are looking for. So we can disperse them and treat it like a glamping park, where you just cram them all right in there next to each other. I think glampers are looking for a little bit more space, but they're camping with RVers, and we're finding that it's a very compatible relationship.
So that, back to your original epiphany on this glamping thing. So there's, actually give some folks real fast, where is this resort at? How can they go look at it online? Is Twin Lakes Camp Resort, where's it at? What's the domain name?
The domain is the same as the name. It's twinlakescampresort.com, and go on there. And you can look at the glamping. You look at every facility that's there by amenities and what facility. You can see all the pictures that are there. I recommend you go on and check the reviews too. Go click on the review sites that are listed at the bottom of the web page on all of the pages, and read what my guests are saying. It's easy to pat yourself on the back, but go read what they say about it. Go see for yourself what it is that the campers and the glampers love about the park.
And so go back to this original, where you had this epiphany that this was an option for you, where you had, all of a sudden you recognized, just based upon the demand, that these 5 units are filling up all the time. What could other park owners glean from that? What should they be looking for, where maybe there's a sign that this is a potential route for them?
Yeah, well, let me say first of all that I don't think that glamping should be something that every park should have. So I don't think this is something that any RV park can just put in some glamping tents. And in fact, I won't name the park. We're in Northwest Florida, but I know someone else who's in this about the same climate that we are, that put in some tents, and they didn't go high end like we did. They didn't put in the beds and amenities, the air conditioners, the kitchenettes, and give them everything that they're looking for as far as the glamorous side. And they, after about 3 years, they decided to take them out because they didn't have anybody staying in them. And if you're not willing to go meet the need for what the glamper is looking for, then I would not recommend that you do that. I would also say that you need some type of natural beauty in the park, something that they're looking for to get outside to experience nature. They're going to go fishing, they're going to go kayaking, they're going to enjoy the mountains or the beach or something, maybe a water feature, something, even maybe a water park. There's a park that's going in down the road about an hour from here that's going to be a rather large RV park, but he has a very large glamping section that's going in too, and he's doing a splash park. So it'll be compatible for amenity wise for both those over to Splash Park. So,
Okay.
I would,
Well, and so then on that, so what you mentioned that your glampers, they're similar to your RVers and campers. How are they similar? How are they different? And what should parks, because this goes back to your point that some parks shouldn't have glamping because it's not a fit for them. What's the similarities? What's the differences? And how do folks make a decision on that?
well, some of the things I mentioned is, do you have the right natural atmosphere for it? Do you have a place to put those where you're not just going to be dropping a tent on an RV site? I don't think that's what people are looking for. I know that there's been some experiments with Airstreams where people will put, they'll just put an Airstream on every single campsite, and they're all jammed in there 20, 25 feet apart. I don't think that's what glampers are looking for. They want more of a natural experience. That's what the RVer is looking for also. They need the amenities. They want a swimming pool. They want an activity center. They want some planned activities. They want an outside cooking area where they can cook for themselves, for their family, with a grill and a campfire. And those are all overlapping with what RVers are all about.
And so then these folks, as you've built this glamping resort, there's been questions along the way that obviously you work through and you've gotten to this place. What questions should somebody who's considering this path be asking or thinking that'll help them make the decision yes or no? And if the decision is yes, how to do it right?
Yep. A phrase you used just a moment ago, is it the right fit? That's really the question that I would ask. I run every decision that we make through that question. Is this the right fit? What kind of signs are we going to have? Is it going to be this sign or that sign or this sign? Well, is that the right fit? Well, what are the tiny homes, or should we do tiny homes? Is it the right fit? We have a theme, a heritage theme that kind of fits in with the nature real well. And when we redo our buildings or add to the campsites or things like that, the question is always, is this the right fit? And so you go through the panorama of all of the options of what you can possibly do, and then you narrow it down. For instance, we have electrical utilities at the campsites because they're necessary. Well, we wrap those electrical boxes with camo so that you're not driving through looking at this gray institutional box in the campsite. It's the right fit because when you drive by, you don't see it. It blends right in. It doesn't block your view of the lake. It doesn't jump out at you and go, oh, it doesn't disturb the nature that's there. We did the same with our water spigots and our gravel and our bushes and our plants. Everything just blends very well into the nature of it. So I would ask, is it the right fit? Do you have the type of park that glamping can fit well in?
I'm sorry, yeah. So I've seen Pat's presentation. We did a dry run earlier this week, and in his presentation, he goes through this in detail and actually has before and after photos. So very inspirational, very similar. So if you had a chance to visit the glamping show last year, Toby O'Rourke gave an excellent presentation showing what KOA's done with glamping, and she had before, afters, and then she also shared revenue numbers, which blew I remember. I mean, Pat, you were probably there when she showed those revenue numbers. I think everybody's jaw hit the ground because like some of their improvements paid for themselves like in 8 months. It was crazy returns on it. And so Pat's kind of carrying that conversation forward. This will be the Glamping Show October 13th through 15th, and you'll be in attendance there. Again, it's twinlakescampresort.com if you want to go see the property. What last thing do you want to leave the folks with if they're considering glamping as an option outside of is it right for their park and are your guests interested? what other things should they be thinking about?
Well, that's a great question. I don't want to spoil it for you. So we'll just say come and see. It's going to be a great conference. Really love to do it face to face if we could, and do it in person. We were looking forward to being out there again. We rent a house outside of town and bring the whole family. And my kids are involved in the building of the park. In fact, when we closed on the lease for the deal, we put it in their name. So it's their park. They're very vested in this. And they love to make the trip to Colorado. So we're looking forward to that next year. But I would say for those that are thinking about doing this, we have this conversation with people. I call it elevator talk. And when we go to a conference somewhere, or you're in a hotel, or you're somewhere on the road, and you run into somebody, and they say, "What do you do?" "Well, we're into RV parks." And they say, oh, I've got a piece of property, and I've been thinking about doing that. I've heard about that. I heard about this glamping or this RV. I was thinking about putting a few of those sites out in my pasture out there. And I tell them, don't do that. Don't do that. If you're serious, then come to the conference, do your homework, figure out whether or not this is something that you really wanted to do, because this isn't just, I'm going to go get some ancillary income from having a few sites or a few tents somewhere. This is something you've got to be completely and totally committed to, because glampers are looking for something that's high end. They want high service, high hospitality. They want you to meet those needs. And if you're not committed to that, then it isn't going to be successful. So it's hard work and smart work. And I'd say, come investigate it, hear all the conference classes that are there, meet some other folks. It's good when we do it in person, because you get to have the on the side conversations with everybody. But look into the industry thoroughly to see this is something you want to do, because you get into it halfway and you don't do it right, it doesn't reflect well on the rest of us, and it's not meeting the need of the guest, and it's going to turn people away from the industry. So I would just say, thoroughly investigate it.
Sounds like you and I are aligned. Our personal goal over here is to make camping amazing. We believe you do that by getting the right camper in the right campground at the right time and the proper equipment. If we can do those four things, we'll see our industry continue to grow. So Patrick O'Neill will be speaker at the Glamping Show USA, October 13th through 15th. Thank you for your time today.
You bet. Good to see you, Mark.